All right, great. Thank you everyone for coming this evening to Picture Your Green New Future. This event is hosted by our Mothers Out Front New River Valley team. We also have others here joining us from other parts of the state. The purpose of this event is to virtually learn how to lobby in both fun and creative ways for the Virginia Green New Deal and the legislative package. My name is Desiree Shelley, and I'm a community organizer with Mothers Out Front, located in Roanoke County, and I currently organize teams in both Roanoke and the New River Valley. So I just want to take a few moments just to tell you a little bit about Mothers Out Front and who we are. So first, our mission is that we build power. We build our power as mothers to ensure a livable climate for all children. And our vision to do that is we advocate for a fast, complete, and just transition to clean, renewable energy. Our model, our theory of change, is that we mobilize mothers through grassroots community teams and organize around issues most important to our volunteer leaders. Oh, sorry about that. Accidentally hit the button too soon. And we organize our volunteer leaders at the local, state, and national level. So we are a member-led organization. Now, to give you a really quick, brief history, we are, as I said, we are a grassroots movement founded by two moms in Boston in 2013. But we now have local teams in Massachusetts, New York, Virginia, California, Ohio, Colorado, New Hampshire, Alabama, North Carolina, Washington, and Michigan. We began organizing on the front lines of the climate crisis in Hampton Roads, Virginia in 2016. And we started specifically in Hampton Roads because they are the second in the nation for the greatest susceptibility to sea level rise. However, since then, we've expanded to 9 community teams and over 3,500 members in Northern Virginia, Central Virginia, and Southwest Virginia. And then who we are, our New River Valley team. Who's hosting our event tonight. I want to give a shout out to them and to all these wonderful mamas who've been helping us organize this event and working so hard today. So they're gonna, if you can see them and you have your screen on showing all the little pictures, you can see we have Elizabeth Chavez. She's from Blacksburg. And we have Kelly Whitefield, also from Blacksburg, and Emily Sater-White. And I don't think Sarah Herring, she's one of our other climate warrior mamas. I don't think she's joined us yet here tonight, but they make up the core group of our New River Valley team, and we are still growing. So we'll have more of a chance to meet them and talk about our team a little later. I want to quickly tell you a little about what our team is doing and what we've been doing in Virginia. It started our support for the Virginia Green New Deal in 2019. A small group of mamas from both Roanoke and New River Valley, Blacksburg, Christiansburg, as well as some of our other teams in Central Virginia and Hampton Roads and Richmond, all came together to lobby in person, back when we could do that, last year to support the Virginia Green New Deal. So this has been a long-going effort for us. And these are some photos where we really came to stand there and support the Sunrise Movement. So as mothers in 2019, we wanted to have our youth take the lead, and we just wanted to be there to support them. So you can kind of see in the photo, there's a few moms with a bunch of young people kind of hidden in the background. But yeah, we were there to support them and support their efforts for the Virginia Green New Deal. And we also are very active with our opposition to the Mountain Valley Pipeline and our efforts to stop the Mountain Valley Pipeline. And this is still something that we're ongoing and working for, and we will win. And we'd love to talk to you more about it if you're interested. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick pause here, and I wanted to note we're about to introduce some of our speakers tonight that I'm really excited that are here. But before we do that, I just want to offer the opportunity, if you are a parent and you have your young kids or youth and they're nearby, they, as much as I'm sure our speakers have wonderful things planned, your youth may not have the attention span or might not want to listen to all of the speaking. So we wanted to offer this great opportunity for them to begin their art build with some of these guiding questions. If you have crayons or paper and pencils available, and you want to have your kid do something in the beginning, we are asking our youth to create photos that eventually we'll explain later that we'll be sending to legislators on how do you envision your green new future. What would a community and environment look like that prioritized healthy climate, healthy ecosystems, clean energy, sustainability, good jobs, and environmental justice? And if you have younger kids like I do, you might want to give them something a little simpler that says, what would it look like to have clean air and water and happy people in your community? So if you have kids around and they want to get started, we encourage them to do that now. But we will talk more about the art builds a little later. All right, so I'm going to pause again, and I'm going to take us back, and I want to hear from you all and everyone who's here and give you a chance to introduce yourselves. So if you don't mind, in the chat, can you just put really briefly what your name is, who you are, where you're coming from, what city or county you live in, and if you like, you can include pronouns. All that is optional. But if you could tell us what brings you here and what interests you about the Virginia Green New Deal, or if you don't know much about the Green New Deal yet and you're just here to learn, you can welcome to put that too. And of course, you know, one thing I didn't add here is that if you're a mother or a parent, you can, well, feel free to welcome and introduce that as well. I'm also a mother of 2 kids, of a 2.5-year-old and a 5-year-old. And while people are putting things in the chat, would anyone like to share something about themselves very quickly? We've got Elizabeth from Blacksburg, as we mentioned, Robert Woodbridge, here to learn. And Troya from Richmond, Tiziana. I think Emily wanted to share quickly. Tiziana, could you unmute Emily Saderwhite?
Hi. I thank you all for being here. I didn't know that you're going to call on me. I'm trying to do Facebook stuff, so sorry I'm a little distracted. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for, I hope you will join us. We'd love to have more team members.
All right, so thank you, everyone. Now, we have several speakers for tonight, and I'm going to move into the first one, so I'll stop talking for a bit. And we have Stacy Lovelace, who's going to talk to us a little bit more about the broader Green New Deal package and just give us a brief overview. And so Stacy is a mother and an activist who lives in Bedford County. She's co-founder of Virginia Pipeline Resistors, an advocacy group started in opposition to the Mountain Valley Pipeline and Atlantic Coast Pipelines and other harmful projects in Virginia. She is also the chair of the Green New Deal Virginia's Defossilization, Energy Efficiency, and Renewables Working Group. Thank you so much, Stacy, for being here, and I'm going to pass it to you.
Thank you so much, and I'm excited to be here. I'll start with just kind of a brief overview of the Green New Deal Coalition. We're made up of over 70 partners, and our collective mission is to create thousands of good jobs while redressing the 2 intersecting crises of climate change and inequity. And in doing that, we're committed to keeping justice at the forefront, and that's the intersecting issues of economic, environmental, social, and climate justice. And with those in mind, we've developed a legislative package around 5 major policy themes. One is a just and equitable 100% renewables plan that leaves no workers or communities behind. Clean air, water, and land for all Virginians. Large investments and job training programs in the renewables and energy efficiency job sectors, investments in local scale agriculture and communities across Virginia, and prioritizing equitable and affordable clean transportation systems. And so coming from these policy goals, we have 3 of our primary bills, the first being the Green New Deal Act, and that's patroned by Delegate Sam Rasool. It's based on last year's HB 77 of the same name. And that bill essentially would establish a just transition for Virginia that not only meets the facts of climate change, but also establishes worker and environmental justice protections so that no worker or community is left behind throughout this transition, which is very important because none of our current Virginia laws address these. And in a nutshell, the bill would mandate 100% renewable electricity by 2036, enhance our energy efficiency goals to at least 2.4% reduction annually, establish a moratorium on fossil fuel infrastructure, and last but definitely not least, mandate the development of a climate action plan that would address all aspects of climate change, things like transportation, agriculture, and it would do so with input from important stakeholders like workers and impacted communities. The second of our three primary bills is a standalone fossil fuel moratorium bill, which is being patroned by Delegate Joshua Cole. This bill would establish a moratorium on all new harmful fossil fuel infrastructure, and it also would prevent expanding any existing fossil fuel infrastructure. And at the same time, it would establish transition assistance programs for workers that would be impacted by the move to renewables, and also establish some environmental justice protections so that impacted communities are not left behind by a transition triggered from a moratorium on fossil fuels. Next slide, please. And then the third of our primary bills is repeal of right to work, which this year's number is HB 1755. And that bill is being patroned by Delegate Lee Carter. This bill would repeal Virginia's unjustly named right to work law, which is a law that actually limits workers' abilities to unionize. So it's about anything but workers' rights. And repealing the right to work law is crucial to establish the worker protections needed for a just transition. And these three bills together are essential to create the thousands of good paying jobs, sustainable jobs that are needed, and also for addressing the climate crisis. And so Green New Deal is also working to pass a bill, and this bill is patroned by Delegate Rasul as well, that establishes grants for community development projects that support local food programs and sustainable agriculture. And this bill is based on HB 1034 that nearly passed last year. And it would give preference to smaller, limited resource farmers, sustainable farmers, and also localities lacking infrastructure, like what we see with food deserts and underserved and environmental justice communities. We are also backing other bills. One is Delegate Guzman's paid sick leave bill, which is an essential right for workers. Delegate Simons and Senator Hashmi's bill to strengthen last year's Environmental Justice for All Act, and this will enhance the Commonwealth's environmental justice standards. We're backing Delegate Krizik's bill to prohibit the use of neonicotinoids, which are harmful to pollinators and contaminate food and soil. We're backing HB 1756, which is Delegate Samira's bill to prohibit campaign donations from public service corporations like Dominion. Transportation-related bills. One is to study the modernization of transit in Virginia, and that's from Delegate McQuinn. And then also a bill to establish clean car standards, which will come from Delegates Bagby and Sullivan. And then also Senator Boysko's bill to update building codes, and that'll of course help with energy efficiency as well. And that pretty much sums up our legislative package. I encourage folks to do the actions talked about later, sign the petition, lobby your legislators. because I believe these bills are so important for Virginia communities, especially now that COVID has amplified the economic disparities that already existed. And I think these bills are so important for all our kids' futures as well.
Thank you so much, Stacy, for giving that overview. Now we're going to go to Elizabeth Chavez, who is one of our leaders in our New River Valley team, and she's going to give us a perspective from a mother on why the Virginia Green New Deal Act and other legislation is important. So just to give an introduction to Elizabeth, she lives in Blacksburg with her husband and 3-year-old son. She's a former lawyer and academic who taught courses on land use and environmental law, as well as US politics. She now serves as team coordinator for the Mothers Out Front NRV team, or New River Valley team, and volunteers with Virginia Organizing's New River Valley chapter, and sits on Virginia Organizing statewide environmental justice committee. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks, Desiree, and thank you everybody for being here. It's really important, and I'm glad to see all the faces that are present. I was part of a group that met with Delegate Sullivan yesterday, part of the Green New Deal Coalition, that met with Delegate Sullivan to ask him if he would be willing to co-patron some of these bills. We didn't get the response that we wanted to hear. And the biggest thing I took away was just the seeming disconnect over the lack of urgency around these issues. So the comments that I prepared for tonight are mostly speaking to that point, and maybe telling you a little bit too much about myself and why I think these things are important, but bear with me. Last couple of days have been distracting, so hopefully this will make sense. When I was 13 or 14, way back in the early 90s, my uncle gave me a book called Save the Earth by Jonathan Porritt. But I think as much as I sympathize with the message, I was a pretty apolitical teenager, and that continued into my college years and early years of graduate school, years during which the message seemed to be that because US politics is a flawed system, that it's better not to engage. But in 2004, I got involved with an environmental political action committee that supported John Kerry's campaign for the presidency. We put up billboards in Florida that tried to draw the connection between supporting George W. Bush and intensifying hurricanes. That was a message that was largely scoffed at. I moved to Miami, Florida a few months later, and I was there for the summer of Hurricanes Katrina, Rita, and Wilma, that were all fairly devastating for Miami, and even more so, obviously, for New Orleans and other places. Then I came back to Virginia. I did a PhD at Virginia Tech. I became more aware of the ineffectiveness of our environmental laws and regulations and of the political conflicts and ideologies that underlie them. I became more attuned to concepts of economic, social, and environmental justice. My husband is from Sydney, Australia. He has family there. We spent a week there a few years ago driving around in a camper van along the coast of New South Wales, the same places that were devastated by fires last year. I went to law school in Southern California. I have friends there. I have friends in Northern California where fires have also raged. My cousin served in the Peace Corps in Vanuatu. My brother served in the Peace Corps in Namibia. The former will soon have too much water, the latter already too little. I got involved with Virginia Organizing almost 4 years ago because I had a son, and I knew that the only way things were going to change was if more people got involved and took action. For the same reason, I joined Mothers Out Front last year. My son will be 4 in April, and I don't worry about what his life will be like in 20 or 30 years. I worry what it will be like in the next 5 or 10. The World Meteorological Organization has predicted that annual global temperature will be at least 1 degree Celsius warmer than pre-industrial levels in each of the coming 5 years, and is very likely to be within 0.91 and 1.59 degrees Celsius warmer. So we're already going to exceed that temperature increase that consensus among scientists has declared to be the tipping point. We're obviously already in the middle of a climate crisis, and we need to take action, not tomorrow, but today. A fossil fuel moratorium and a just transition, as laid out in the Green New Deal, are the kinds of bold actions that reflect the seriousness of our situation. But they're only going to happen if we put pressure on our representatives, if more people get involved. I'm still not enamored with the US political system, to put it mildly, but it's the one we have to work with right now. We have to keep pushing, and I'm very grateful again to see you all here, and thanks for helping to make that happen.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And I really appreciate that your perspective and offering those and sharing those different things about your life. And I'm going to quickly point out that, yes, we will be, please stick around to the end, because we will be discussing the calls to action. And as Elizabeth mentioned, we have been lobbying already with some of our representatives here in Virginia, and it's going to be a tough battle because there is some indifference, and there is this lack of understanding of the sense of urgency of how we need to act. So with that said, I want to turn it over now to a speaker we're very excited to have here tonight. That's, oh, sorry, having trouble moving my slide, is Delegate Sam Rasool. So he is both the patron of the Virginia Green New Deal Act for the second year in a row, as well as the local farm and food infrastructure grant. And we're, local food and farm infrastructure bill. So we're very excited to hear from him, and he's going to tell us a little more about these bills and give us his perspectives as well. Now, Delegate Rasool has been serving Virginia's 11th district as the delegate from Roanoke since he was first elected in 2014. In his 4 terms in the General Assembly, he has consistently prioritized everyday Virginians and the future of our planet in the legislation he has supported. He has a passion for identifying common struggles we all share and bringing people together to fight for the common good. From speaking out against fracked gas pipelines we don't need to voting against ratepayer ripoffs, Sam has been showing up for communities across Virginia, fighting for justice. Sam has a background in healthcare administration, nonprofit management, finance, and organizational change. In 2018, he was the youngest candidate in the US for Congress. In 2016, he launched the Impact Center, which has helped support and train more than 1,000 activists and candidates across Virginia to win through the science of trust and coalition building. His guiding philosophy starts with the golden rule: treat others as you would want to be treated. Sam leads with his values of respect, fairness, and liberty for all. Sam lives in Roanoke with his spouse, Layala. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your wife's name, and their 3 children. Thank you so much, Sam, for being here.
Well, thank you, Desiree. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for that kind introduction. It is great to be with this all-star group of activists and organizers, for sure. Desiree here from the Roanoke Valley, and I see Davey and some others. It is awesome to be here on the front end of the 2021 session. You know, there's lots of thanks to go around, but you know, Elizabeth's point, and I really appreciate your continued involvement and your passion for the work that we do. Here's one, so I'm in my 8th year now in the General Assembly, and here's one thing that I know is just true. The knowledge of what is wrong and the knowledge of how to fix it are 2 different sets of knowledge. And many times we conflate them. It's relatively straightforward for us to be able to think about all that is going wrong. And when you mentioned that the climate statistics, you mentioned the impact of fossil fuels, and Stacy did such a great job of laying out pieces of the Green New Deal. But really, the knowledge of how to fix it has very little to do with all of that, because how to fix this is plain and simple organizing. It is showing political force. And when I saw these young activists over 2 years ago go into Congress in November of 2018 from the Sunrise Movement and say, we demand Democrats at that point, I realized, man, that is the kind of energy we need here in Virginia. Immediately, I contacted Sunrise National. My friend Evan, who's a political director there, he's like, come on, Let's try to figure this thing out. I said, I know you all aren't organized at a state level, but we want to build the Green New Deal here. Before you knew it, we had a dozen organizations. We launched the Green New Deal here in Virginia, and now we're up to 70 organizations. Was able to get some of my friends, Karen Camplin with NAACP, Leah Williams with the Sierra Club to co-chair. And what was interesting and exciting for me wasn't the environmental movement. I actually didn't grow up an environmentalist. I'm a child of immigrants coming from a working class family, and economic justice was always front and center for me. But what I realized is that we're not going to have progress on any of these progressive issues without building a broad coalition and graduating out of the silos of advocacy that I had seen for many years already in the General Assembly. And so all of a sudden you had the Green New Deal front and center, which brought the intersection of environmental justice, economic justice, and social justice, where we said we can address the climate crisis with the fierce urgency of now, while intentionally uplifting people, especially environmental justice communities, economically, and especially in a socially just way. And to me, not only is that the right thing to do, but in fact, it's the strategy of how to actually get it done. Because remember, that body of knowledge is so important. We are not going to be able to go into meetings with legislators and other politicians and feed them a bunch of facts to change their minds. Sometimes that helps. I certainly am always looking for new information. But the reality is that organizing, running your candidates, finding ways of supporting candidates that certainly are supportive of a Green New Deal, and making sure you put the electoral pressure on people like me to make sure that we are held accountable. Because when a trio of environmental justice, economic justice, and social justice advocates come into my office together and say, here are our demands. If I have the NAACP, the Sierra Club, and a variety of others like the unions, our union brothers and sisters, saying, here's where we're at. Boy, it is difficult for me to write that all off because they represent such power. So there is power in the coalitions that you are building. And that is how you really impact and affect the change. And that's the magic of a Green New Deal. That's the magic of trying to figure out how we can build the coalitions of the future. There's lots of policy that you all have discussed and we're discussing tonight. You have heard about a little bit about the Green New Deal Act. The Green New Deal Act is largely built off of what we did last year with several key additions as we talk about how we further advance environmental justice, how we are pushing forward, of course, with the moratorium. But in addition to that, challenging the accounting that these utilities and fossil fuel interests actually bring into Virginia to ensure that they stop taking advantage of ratepayers, that they stop extracting wealth from our communities. This is fundamentally built into the Green New Deal Act and how we approach these investments in renewable energy. So I commend this group for coming together because look, as difficult as it is, sitting on the sidelines is really just not an option. I mean, to me, justice is not a destination. We are never going to get there. It is a journey. So the question is, are we going to be together in that journey, arm in arm, trying to day after day achieve a little bit more of that justice? And that's what's exciting for me. I mean, that's what makes, that's what gives for me life a lot of juice. And so it's really easy to be cynical after the crazy day that we saw yesterday, after the last 4 years. For me, even looking at the last 4 decades of people and their wages stagnating, of us not doing what we need to do to address the climate crisis. But here's a golden opportunity, an opportunity as Democrats are in control, as progressives are winning more and more of these elections, as some of my sisters in the squad continue to add to their ranks. now is the time to look at these coalitions and to figure out, boy, how are we going to build a force to be reckoned with? And that's exactly what you're doing. So hats off to Desiree, to Tiziana, to Mothers Out Front, to Emily. Of course, I always endorse doing everything that's law-abiding, except when you're my friend Emily and you're chaining yourself to equipment, trying to stop this pipeline. And that is important dissent right there. And we are, I never thought we would stop any of these pipelines. I thought it would be so difficult, but we were on the front line. The ACP's been stopped. We've given so much heck to the Mountain Valley Pipeline. They've doubled the projected cost of it. And we're just hitting it from all angles. And it's so beautiful to watch so many of you step up and try to do what's right. So again, as tough as it is, all that struggling, and I know Emily knows about this, for so many days, months, and years looking for bright spots, and then all of a sudden, a bright spot appears. That's why we do what we do, is for that struggle. So thank you to Mothers Out Front and to all of you who are investing your time and energy. Count me as you know, as an ally in all of this. And I'm looking for other allies, meaning, to stop some of these pipelines, we had to go find, even the Tea Party was speaking out against the pipeline. We had to go find Republicans, conservatives, landowners, people from all walks of life, because we will build a coalition for the just. And that is how we will stand tall and be proud of what we stand for. So looking forward to working with every single one of you as we're pushing for a Virginia that's more just, as we're pushing for a Green New Deal, and hopefully passing a Green New Deal Act this year.
Thank you so much, Delegate Rasool. I was wondering if, I know you may not be able to stay to our very end for our Q&A. Would you be open to 1 or 2 questions now before you head out?
I have 3 minutes and they're all yours. And by the way, I'm so sorry.
I'll start with 1 question.
That I only have a few minutes, but I'd love to answer anything.
I was wondering if you could very briefly, because I know you have to leave, share about the Green New Deal Act. Why is it so important, and why has the VCEA just not quite been enough? What are the differences there for those that may not know?
Yes, so to boil it down.
And for those that don't, it's Virginia.
Yeah, we had a big bill that passed last year. And why I fought so hard against the Virginia Clean Economy Act is because it did make modest improvements with some of the environmental goals that we're trying to achieve. And there are some environmental goals that people can rationalize, or we can, make some progress here, come back the next year, and that'd be okay. But what was fundamentally unethical about the Clean Economy Act is that it exacerbated wealth inequality. That bill alone is going to be increasing the utility bills of many Virginians by 40% over the next decade. And to me, that is fundamentally wrong. That's what we mean when we talk about intersectional justice. And that's why we will not be compromising on some of these core principles. So I'm very sorry that I'm bouncing in between Zooms tonight and I have to run. But any of you that I can ever help, if I can ever be of any assistance, feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Can we take a quick picture, like screenshot real quick?
Yeah,
Awesome.
sure thing.
Yeah.
You just tell me if we're
well,
doing
can you,
or
well,
silly.
Desiree needs to stop sharing, otherwise we won't be able to see. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know whoever is okay with sharing their camera. I'm not even doing it. And just kind of do it 3, 2, 1 kind of thing. And I'll try to take a screenshot.
Okay.
If I can. Well, okay, I guess. Desiree, you tell me. I was waiting for you.
Yes,
oh, okay, everyone's smiling over it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I did. Yeah, that's okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks
you
so
so
much
much
for
for Delegate Rizzo for being here.
Take care.
Thank you
And
for all you
Davey,
do.
Davey, take care of that baby for me. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for fitting us into your busy
Bye.
schedule.
Very welcome anytime. Bye.
Okay. Okay, give me one moment to share again. Okay, thank you. And I just want to, I know Delegate Rizzo had to leave, and I so glad that he gave us this perspective, as well as the importance of the urgency and why is now, the time is now. And I wanted to just touch on one thing that he said before we move on about the Virginia Clean Economy Act is the reason we're fighting so hard for the Virginia Green New Deal and the company legislation is not just because of the urgency of climate, even though we are looking at the Virginia Clean Economy Act, it sets the goals way too far at 2050. The Virginia Green New Deal is looking at meeting our goals by 2036 and making that just transition at the time that we need it to, that climate science is telling us. But on top of that, we are also looking for justice, to make sure that this is just transition, that there is clean new jobs, clean energy jobs for those that might be losing their jobs in the fossil fuel sector, that ratepayers are not going to be burdened with the cost of transitioning. This bill is there to guarantee those things and to make a truly that just transition. And in addition, we are also supporting accompanying legislation like the right to work. So we're going to take a quick transition now to talk about some of the other bills. The second is particularly this bill called our Local Food and Farm Infrastructure Program. And this is a bill that I was very excited about. And I was also very excited to be part of the working group with the Grassroots Virginia Green New Deal Coalition. And I'll make a pitch here too, that the Virginia Green New Deal Coalition work groups, they have multiple ones for different issues that we are working on. They're open to anyone. So I encourage you to go to the Virginia Green New Deal website. If you want to have your voice heard and be a part of this legislative process, you are welcome to participate. I was excited about the food and farm because my heart is always in community greening and in food justice and food sovereignty. So this was something I was really excited to work on. And I wanted to uplift it a bit because we don't always make the connections between our food, farm infrastructure, local food systems, and climate. And then additionally, how a local food system would benefit us. So I'm going to share a little bit of testimony from a couple of local farmers here who are in supporting this bill. Now, just to give a quick overview, this bill will establish a state-administered fund for developing of a local community food infrastructure projects, particularly in underserved rural and urban communities across Virginia. It'll be implemented through the Governor's Agricultural and Forestry Industries Development Fund, APHID. The program will give preference and funding to both urban and rural communities that will maximize the potential benefit of new community infrastructure projects. So we're going to hear from Cam here, who runs Garden Variety Harvest here in Roanoke.
Hi, my name is Cam Perry. I'm a vegetable grower in Roanoke, Virginia. I run a urban farming business called Garden Variety Harvest. We grow salads and other vegetables and fruits in urban and suburban yards in the city of Roanoke for farmers markets and for restaurants. I eat, sleep, and breathe local food. And I think that state funding for local food infrastructure is really key to building resilience and opportunity for small farm and food businesses. On my farm, we reduce the scale for a local farm business often hinges on distribution. Farmers are often finding themselves asking the question, can I find enough potential customers to support growing more food? And food hubs help make that possible for a lot of small farmers. For those reasons, I think that this bill has my support. I'm grateful that my state is taking steps to show that they take local food systems seriously. Thank you.
My apologies. I'll share again. My computer froze for a minute. Thank you for bearing with me.
Is Cam, Terry? I'm a vegetable grower. What's up, y'all? My name is
Desiree, do you need help?
I got it. Thank you. And I apologize for that technical. We have one more person to hear from.
Davey Stewart with the Harvest Collective here at Heritage Point Farm in Roanoke City. And we are very supportive of this food and farm infrastructure bill proposed by Delegate Sam Rasool. We are actually in the process of developing a local food hub here with Leap for Local Food. And the main thing that if this bill was passed, we would go ahead and use this for right away is developing a community compost facility here right behind me. You can see the compost piles, so this pales into comparison what we can do when we're permitted and have the proper stormwater retention processing so that we can make sure that we don't discharge any harmful pollutants into the rivers around us. We want to build up a dynamic local food economy and relationship with our ecosystems by having compost as the backbone of our community cooperative workers collective, which also includes investors in our project. So we were able to get a grant. It would go right away into building Roanoke City's first compost facility. Thanks to Mothers Out Front and Desiree for so much of their on-the-ground organizing and support for groups like us. And I hope to see y'all in whatever capacity show up to support local food wherever you live and wherever you can. And I'm just so grateful for this sunny day. Peace, y'all.
All right, thank you so much. And I think Davey was here to join us, so I'm just going to say thank you, Davey, and I see you, Megan, there too. So thank you for sharing that video, and I'm really excited to hear more about your compost facility and everything that you'll be doing. And Finley, hi Finley. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our take action. This is the most important part of tonight, so thank you for bearing with us and all of our talking. And now we're going to get to what we need you to do. And as Delegate Sam Rasool was telling us, the most important part of this is organizing, and we need people power. And we need all of us here to really be taking these actions and putting this pressure on our representatives to support the Virginia Green New Deal and the legislative package. So I'm going to hand it over now to one of our team members, Kelly, and she and I are going to talk about this together and tag team on this take action piece. Now, I wanted to say that this is going to be a three-step process. So we're going to try, there's a lot of different actions here. So we're going to try to break them down into 3 easy steps. But don't worry, all of this will be sent to you via email, so you don't have to memorize it all or save all these links now, though I will be putting them into the chat while we talk. So Kelly, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, so as Desiree mentioned, now we come to the most important and exciting part of the evening, talking about specific actions that we can take to support the Green New Deal and increase its likelihood of passing. And here we're sharing specific actions that you can take right now that are time sensitive. First of all, Stacy mentioned you can sign the petition that will be presented to leadership and committees. The link is there. Honestly, you can do it right now if you want to. Secondly, send an email to your representative to support the Green New Deal Act, the moratorium, and the repeal of right to work. And the link there can help you find that representative. You can also send an email with Mothers Out Front to your representative in support of the Green New Deal. And the message there is crafted to provide more of a mother's voice, sharing concerns about the future for our children. So all of those 3 links can help you take action right now to support the Green New Deal and send messages to the legislature.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and to help find your representative, we have a link there to help you find who your representative is, as well as providing a link to the talking points of the deal if you'd like to craft your own specific message or add your own specific comments or your own story. The more personal your message can be, often the more effective, as we all know. So please, try to make it personal and use those talking points to help craft your message.
I want to chime in and just add that, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I wanted to just add quickly to when each of these petitions, going back just one slide, is that our petition, specifically both of these will be going to leadership as well as your own representative. So if you sign the Mothers Out Front petition, as well as the Mothers Out Front will send a direct email not only to your representatives, but also to our House Speaker, Eileen Fillercorn, and to some of the other key leadership people that we need to move this bill along. I wanted to just note that last year, we advocated really hard for the Virginia Green New Deal, and it did pass committee. However, it was sent to appropriations to die. And that's what we're really going to work hard to avoid happening this year. Often we're coming out of a pandemic, and many of the leadership, especially within the Democratic Party, who has the majority, are being told not to pass anything with a price tag on it. So if things get sent to appropriations where you put a price tag on it, they often die. So we're going to try to get this to the floor to a vote, and that's one of the things we're really going to be lobbying for. And so that's why it's so important to not only contact our representatives, but some of the key leadership that can make sure these bills continue onto the floor. So I just wanted to emphasize that really quickly as we're talking about why are we, if you're wondering why am I CCing these other representatives on these emails, that's part of the reason why. So thank you so much, Kelly, and I'm going to give it back to you to start introducing us to our next step.
Thanks, Desiree. And the second action we'd like to take is also include our children's voices in the messages that we send to the legislature. So that is the theme for our evening. Picture your Green New Deal and encouraging your children to think about and imagine what their green future might look like. We've provided some guiding prompts for how you might create a piece of art in any medium that could be included with a note that you're sending yourself with your own message, or even if you have an older child, maybe a note from them to their legislator about why the Green New Deal is important to them. Our children are more educated in environmental issues and climate change than we ever were at their age. I mean, even elementary school children. And so they're already aware, and many of them carry a particular burden about the issue because they've heard that their generation is responsible for fixing it, and we have to be careful about overburdening them, of course, with that message. But they're interested and they're more engaged in this issue than as a constituent than anyone. So it's important to talk with them about it, of course, and as mothers, sharing their perspective along with our message could be very powerful and important. So we have some examples on the following slides of some artwork that has been created by some of our children and others that we know. Quite a variety of examples. We have a collage here from Nico, who's 3, and I'm sure already a budding activist. We have a couple of drawings, I think, to follow. The world I want to live in with solar panels and an electric bus. And this was the comment that came with the pictures, like, this is the world I want to live in. My Green New Future, about the Green New Deal. You can go ahead, Desiree.
Thanks. Yes.
This is from your daughter, yeah?
Oh, yeah. This is, so even if you have little kids, I'll just share, this is from my daughter, Minosa, and she drew this picture mostly by herself. I gave her a little bit of help, but I just asked her what she loved about her environment and being outside and what did she want to protect. And she wanted to protect her and her sister and their ability to be out, to breathe clean air and play in the water safely, and to do things that they really enjoy, which we do beekeeping and have chickens. So those things are in there as well as playing on her playground. So. And then I wanted to also just share quickly, I know this might look silly and what is this, but this is something I did with my now who's two-year-old, but I want to know if you, even if you have really little ones, and I know some of us do, and you want to just have a fun way to get them involved. This artwork was just done with handprints and feet, and just putting, I had a 1-year-old at the time, and we just kind of stuck her hand in some non-toxic, very safe, like notepad, and then just pressed her feet to make a little butterfly, and then used her hands to make a tree. So there's just some fun things you can even do if you're really little kids that also will be really great keepsakes. And then I shared this one too, because I wanted to really note that this is not just for kids, it's for adults too. So even if you are here and you don't have kids, we encourage you to also make your art. And this was something I did actually as part of a staff retreat with Mothers Out Front. This past year in 2020, they asked us to color a picture of what we envisioned for our clean, green future. And so this is what I came up with. We had about 5 minutes to color, so it's not really my best work. But my point is that, yes, we encourage adults to also participate. And then if you really don't like drawing, or art, and sometimes we have some youth and kids that don't, take a photo. I did this last Christmas around the holidays. It was actually not Mothers Out Front, but it was for Extinction Rebellion, and they asked us to write, show signs saying all I want for Christmas is clean air and water. So I had my kids do that at the time, and they were really excited about it. So that's just you can do a photo and make it fun too. So I wanted to give that option. And again, this is like, it's even great. Another way to do it is have your kids showing their art build photo. Okay, I'm going to hand it back over to Kelly. Thank you.
So some suggestions on, what to do with the art that you might create with your child is post it to social media with the hashtag Virginia Green New Deal. You can tag Mothers Out Front Virginia and your local representative social media pages, or maybe even record a video and share your art and video at the Virginia Green New Deal virtual rally on January 16th. And there's an example there below about of how you could tag your post.
And I want to note too that the Virginia Green New Deal Coalition leadership have also asked us to share these at their virtual rally on January 16th. So we would love it if you did create this work to tag us on Facebook, and also tag your delegate. You can also tag Eileen Fillercorn, and as we were just explaining, and if you tag us, then we can make sure that we get all of this shared to both like our website and at this virtual rally, which will really have a people power impact. So please tag Mothers Out Front and hashtag Virginia Green New Deal if you do this this Art Build action for us. Okay, now I'm gonna go over a couple steps to take action also. So now going on to number 3, and I want to tell you that this next part is our call and meet with our local legislators. So taking it really to the next step. So first we're going to write and sign, and then doing the Art Build is step 2. And then if you have the time and are able to put in a little extra time to push this legislation along, we'd love to share with you some important dates coming up. All of this is kind of still in the works. So as long as you signed up for this event tonight, we'll be able to email you updates. January 11th through 15th, we're going to be having call-in days to our local representatives. This is being hosted by one of our partners at Food and Water Watch, Virginia, and they're going to asking for people to call in to Speaker Eileen Fillercorn. And I know I mentioned this earlier and why it's so important to contact her, because she is the Speaker of the House and she has the ability to make sure that these legislative pieces get passed. So there's a link here. We will be sending this out to everyone who attended tonight. And this is a link to register, and that's going to take you to Food and Water Watch, just so you know, as they're the ones organizing that, and we're doing it in partnership with them. And then January 16th at noon is the Virginia Green New Deal virtual rally, and this is where you can bring your picture. You can register here. We'll still have. We don't have a lot of information yet as this is being organized by the broader coalition, but if you register here at this link, we can send you more information about that rally once we have it. But again, we'll have this rally, we'll be showing our artwork. If you have a video that you can do, we'll be sharing all of that during this rally. And then lastly, January 18th, and this is still tentative as we're trying to invite having a virtual meeting to invite Eileen Fillercorn, but more details to come. We'd like to have a meeting with her and have as many bodies as possible of those telling her and lobbying and saying, yes, we want this, a Virginia Green New Deal Act, we want the fossil fuel moratorium, and we want the whole legislative package. So we're hoping that she will meet with us. There's a good chance that she won't. If she does not meet with us, then we were still planning to have a empty chair meeting that will live stream. So hopefully, we'll be able to get our voices heard by her either way. So that is our plan, and don't worry, we'll give all this information to you. You don't need to memorize it now. So again, a couple more calls to action. I know it seems like a lot. We have a lot going on and different ways that you can take action. But this is a link to sign up to lobby with the Virginia Green New Deal. So in addition to our meetings with Eileen Fillercorn and the other petitions, we're also right now scheduling Zoom meetings with the Virginia state officials. And this is a way you can join them on those calls. So we'll be sending out this link and then you can register. So if we are scheduling a meeting with somebody that's your local representative, then the Virginia Green New Deal can then reach out to you. So this is a link to register to actually be in one of the virtual meetings. So everything is virtual this year. There's no traveling to Richmond. This can all be done safely at home. So virtual lobbying, it's a new thing this year. And then you can also just take an independent lobbying action. You don't have to go through us. We never want to make sure that we're the only avenue. You can feel empowered to do this yourself. So below is a document that was created by the Virginia Green New Deal Coalition on all of the key legislation that we've discussed, that Stacy did such a wonderful job explaining everything that's we're supporting, and then talking points for each one of those. And then here, this link down here, you can find who your legislator is by going to that website, and you can go and schedule your own meeting with them or call them on your own. So we always want to give that option that you don't have to go through us. We try to make it easy for you, but we encourage people to go and contact their representatives on their own as well. I just want to quickly give you how to stay connected to us. You can email me. This is my email address. Again, we'll be emailing you anyway, but it's Desiree.Shelley@mothersoutfront.org. And of course I misspelled it on this. There's just ORG, not OR.
Hey, Desiree, there's a question.
Info.
Okay. Oh, sorry, never mind. Someone responded.
Okay. or you can email our group address, which goes to a few of us on our team at mothersoutfront.org. And then these are just our websites, mothersoutfront.org, and our state and local teams where you can find us. That's all I have to say. So if you want to know more, we're here to talk to you. Send me an email, look at our website. I also encourage you to go to the Green New Deal websites. We'll have plenty of information and talking points sent out to everyone. And if you need to find your local representative, I want to let you know we try to make that as easy as possible with these calls to action. I see, Hunter, you have another question. I'll get to that in just a second. We'll try to do a lot of this work for you. So if you're not sure who your representative is, remember we have a form that you can fill out and we'll contact you about setting up those meetings. And then we also have our, what we call our do-gooder page, which is just an online form that you submit. You put your information in, it automatically goes to your local representative. You don't have to do any other work, but just fill it out and just let them know your opinion.